So, CM Punk eliminated both Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. And then CM Punk was then eliminated by the transphobic, bigoted, crypto scamming, child exploitation asshole that somehow still has work, Logan Paul. Speaking of Royal Rumble, Jey Uso has declared that he is going out to Falta for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania, as if we didn't get that a few weeks back. Yeah, probably Saturday Night's Main Event shouldn't have had that match then. But anyways, so yeah, beyond that, after Jey Uso's victory and all that, after CM Punk got eliminated, there was a lot of stuff going on right afterwards. But so after CM Punk got eliminated, Roman Reigns proceeds to start yelling at CM Punk, talking about how we just tag teamed a month ago, even though it was more than 2 months, 2.5 at best, at worst. But because Roman and Punk arguing wasn't combustible enough, Seth Rollins, in his quest for vengeance, in what he believes is the right thing to do in eliminating the monster, the tyrant he created, he curb stomps Roman Reigns on the matted floor and proceeds to brawl with CM Punk across the ring. And yeah, that was an interesting angle they went with, and this led me to think, is this leading to a triple threat match at WrestleMania this year? Like, going to be between Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and CM Punk for reasons I don't that I wouldn't understand. It's not the main event of WrestleMania, so Punk's once again denied his dream. Yeah. Ignoring that part, but as this goes on, the developing situation is that Roman Reigns is at the heart of all this. This is basically his massive story, though with Punk now added into this dynamic, especially if they go with this route. It just made me go, is Jon Moxley going to factor into this? Not like he's going to show up or anything. No. Even though that would be freaking awesome, he's not going to show up in WWE, even if we could imagine a what-if scenario of collaboration between the AEW and WWE. There's too much piss-offery on that. But Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns' feud back in 2021, back in 2022, did have, consisted of Seth Rollins and them talking about Jon Moxley, and they acknowledged his name is Jon Moxley now outside WWE, which was awesome. And Seth Rollins psychologically getting in Roman's head. And looking back on that match, it was a great match, and it had a masterclass in storytelling, but like, it should have ended in a victory for Roman, or just how they ended it just wasn't right with me, especially for a pay-per-view. But I get the feeling they're gonna bring in Jon Moxley mentions onto this, since the Shield is gonna be the heart of this storyline heading into WrestleMania, probably, if they go with it, especially given that CM Punk, who claims he's the man who created the Shield, he pitched the idea of the Shield, and he pitched this whole thing about 3 guys who come up with him, except it's probably going to devolve into them going home and Punk calling out Roman and saying, look, Roman, when I pitched Seth and Dean or Moxley or whatever he's called nowadays in that other place, when I pitched that and you got on board, I didn't even want you on the Shield. And Roman would get really pissed at that, especially Paul Heyman being like, ah! Especially since Paul Heyman would have to choose, do I choose my Paul Heyman guy, or am I a special counsel? I don't, Mom, Dad, please stop fighting. So that should be factored in. And Seth Rollins' grievances with Roman Reigns started with him finally acknowledging his guilt and his remorse for destroying what they had, and leading to Roman becoming this guy hell-bent to try and never feel that pain ever again, only to make things way worse for both himself, his family, and not just that, his trauma from those days infecting every WWE storyline. I think people kind of forget this. I wanted to point this out. This saga, the Bloodline saga that started all the way back in 2020, this is all one massive trauma-laced story that has reverberated across the WWE landscape. Because almost every storyline now that's in the main event scene has to some way or do with Roman Reigns and the Bloodline. You got Jimmy Uso and Jey Uso doing their thing. You got Jey Uso going to WrestleMania to fight Volta and prove once and for all he is on Roman's level. He is main event Jey Uso. It is Yeetmania. It's time for Yeetomania. I'll see myself after that. And Cody Rhodes' stories have been laced with the trauma of what Roman Reigns inflicted upon everybody around him, especially Kevin Owens, and leading to everyone getting hurt, mangled, brutalized. Drew McIntyre's grievances, Sami Zayn getting package pile drive by his best friend Kevin Owens. That was also because he hadn't helped Roman Reigns out the moment he was getting attacked, whereas Sami Zayn didn't do a thing when Kevin Owens got attacked by Cody, because there was a dilemma there. But with the Roman stuff, you could at least understand Kevin Owens' situation on that front, because Kevin Owens went through so much hell with him. But to see that this story has infected the main event scene to the point that Roman's trauma and what Seth did to him over 10 years ago, it's going to be 11 years this year, has caused so much storylines and bleed through everything. It's like a very interesting angle to go with that they went with, that I feel like that WWE's been doing pretty good at, having the trauma that was reverberated throughout the wrestling industry since 2014 infect not just WWE, but AEW. I'll get to that. But it's just like Roman has become a virus, an infection spreading across the wrestling, across WWE. And Moxley is kind of doing that as well with the whole No Man's Land stuff he's doing, with the forced evolutionary virus, as I so eloquently called him in my No Man's Land video. Check it out. It's one of my highest viewed videos and surprisingly very liked. I was surprised by that. But it's just one of those things I was surprised by, with how much Roman Reigns' multi-year long reign has led to this kind of very intangible effect on all main event storylines, because now you can't really do much without having to reference Roman and the Bloodline's dominance. Like, you could probably do the Judgment Day stuff, but people got really sick of that. But since you're integrating CM Punk into the fold now, and his history with the Shield, that's going to add another layer of trauma dumping on there, because now CM Punk pitched the Shield. He didn't want Roman, he wanted Cassius Ohno on the team, and they went with Roman. And Punk might try and claim that if Roman never, if Triple H never went to bat for you, you wouldn't have been in the Shield. You wouldn't be where you are now. You wouldn't be the tribal chief. So, if anything, I am the voice behind the tribal chief, or something like that, leading to Roman getting royally pissed, because not only is he like being threatened with his position, with his status and his legitimacy, he's also now just being told this is also kind of Punk's fault why this trauma has infected WWE, which there's a lot of stuff to unpack from that plot. But the trauma affecting WWE's main roster scene, main event scene, and how it's hurt everyone around him, and it's not just hurt him, it's hurt Seth Rollins, it's hurt everybody. Like, I get the feeling they could start a slow process in having Seth and Roman slowly burning down their walls that they built around each other to stop each other from hurting another emotionally and mentally, by uniting in their hatred for Punk, because if it wasn't for Punk, a lot of this stuff would have happened by Punk's own admission of logic. And you also get the whole dilemma with Paul Heyman and his factoids, with the fact that Paul Heyman and Punk were buddies, and when we last saw them, they had a deal. They had that Paul Heyman owes Punk something, and there's a story to be told about that down the road, no doubt. But it's going to be interesting, especially since Punk's on Raw, Seth Rollins is on Raw, but Roman's on SmackDown. They'll probably allow Roman to switch it up once in a while, or maybe they'll go with the Triple H route where he just was like, I'll show up and beat the living hell out of this guy even if I'm not on the show. Like, they'll probably do that. But here's the other thing I wanted to point out about the Shield. As much as Seth likes to think he was the glue that held it together when they were infighting before their big breakup, looking at it now, it does feel like now Jon Moxley was the glue that held them together, because Roman probably would have never considered reuniting the Shield those other times if Moxley wasn't there, because Seth Rollins has said in real in out of character interviews where he has said Jon Moxley and Roman Reigns have a more closer bond to each other than Seth Rollins has with either of them. Like, he still cares about them, they're still his friends, and he did shed tears when Roman Reigns announced his leukemia. But it's like Moxley and Roman have more of a deeper bond than Roman has with Seth. And it's probably because of that bond that made the Shield reunite. It's like not just because of Seth Rollins, because Moxley's this guy holding it together. But when Moxley left, went to AEW, went to the competition, there was no one holding them back. Like, they don't need to. They don't have any reason to reunite now. It's like, well, the guy we cared about equally is gone, so fuck you. And now, look where they're at now. Now they can't stand each other. They refuse to team up even in those dire circumstances. And even when the Royal Rumble was in factor and the main event WrestleMania was destined for them, they couldn't let go of that hate. Like, they see each other and they just want to kill each other. And I do definitely think we should culminate that in a brutal, violent match between Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns down the road, because I don't think you can tell the story as justly like Royal Rumble all those years ago without having a violent stipulation involved or having blood and whatnot. Like, I'm still saying, like, I think Hell in a Cell would be a perfect fitting to end the turmoil. Like, have Seth and Roman, like, just brutalize each other, letting their emotions come out, letting all the trauma, the grief, the angst and the anguish they have felt for the last 10 years, for over 11 years now, what Seth Rollins did to him, what Roman's done to him, what their bond to Jon Moxley did to them. And with Punk now being added to the mix, I feel like that's going to add fuel to the fire for their eventual showdown. Because this has to go to a showdown eventually, right? Like, in my Jacob Fatu video that's coming out soon, production's almost done. I just want to point that out. I did have a vision of Jacob Fatu fighting Roman at WrestleMania, and while that's a possibility that's thrown out the window, this would be a good alternative to do, like, just to get Roman and Punk and Seth Rollins something to do at Mania, since it doesn't look like they have much planned for them besides doing another feud between each other and having the Paul Heyman center at the center of it a little bit, and having the Shield's history in the center, and having Punk's involvement in the Shield and what was originally envisioned by Punk. All that could be an interesting angle to go with, and also I would be all for it. It'd be a good match, I hope. And they have a chance to tell good, cool stories between Roman and Seth and Punk, Roman and Punk. That was never really resolved ever. Like, they had like one big match and Roman pinned him, and they haven't even brought that up at all. Because that will bruise Seth Rollins' ego even more. It's like how did everyone in this ring, between you and me, which one of us pinned Punk first? And Seth will snap at that retort, because it's true. Roman pinned Punk during their time at the Shield. But yeah, there's a lot of storytelling you can go with that, and having the backstage politics history, the real life history between Seth and Punk, the corporate involvement of Roman's ascension and Punk's viewpoint of all of it, it could make for a very explosive WrestleMania feud, and I'd be all for it. Like, let's do this. I'm all for it. I'm already hyping myself up for a match that could probably happen, probably not happen. We'll see, but it's money to be made right there. Even if it's not the main event of WrestleMania, at least have it be the big opening matchup to like kick things off. Because I'm still that proponent. It's like, if they have the Rumble in their backing, then they should close the show, or at the very least open the show. And since they have 2 nights now, they don't have an excuse anymore. But we'll see. We'll see. Like I said, gonna be an interesting time. We're gonna see on the road to WrestleMania as it's officially underway. This was your host, Eric Brown of Neo Reality Entertainment, NRE The Wrestleverse. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, check out my other content in the description below. Stay tuned for more. I'll see you all again next time. And oh my god, this year has been crazy so far. It's only February, and I've already had like a bunch of videos made since this initiative for NRE 10 started. But I'll see you all again next time. Peace and take care. I enjoy you all, and take care of yourselves out there, people. Take care of yourselves.